In 1934, a diner in St. Louis served fried calf brains on rye bread for a nickel. Steel workers lined up for it before the morning shift. Today, you cannot find it within 500 miles. Number 17 on this list was the most popular sandwich in America for nearly 30 years, but McDonald's made sure you forgot about it. And number 3 involves a chemical reaction between bread and the filling that food scientists at Cornell say modern ingredients simply cannot replicate. These 25 sandwiches fed coal miners, factory workers, farmhands, and school children from coast to coast. They built this country one lunch pail at a time. Then the drive-through window opened, and America forgot how to eat. Subscribe, because what you are about to hear is the real history of American lunch. Let us count them down. Number 25. The bean sandwich carried families through the Depression when meat was a memory and bread was a luxury you stretched to its limit. Mothers mashed leftover baked beans onto thick slices of white bread, added a slice of raw onion, if they had one, and pressed the whole thing flat. In 1933, a loaf of bread cost 8 cents. A can of beans cost a nickel. That was lunch for 4 children for 2 days. The beans soaked into the bread, turning it soft and sweet from the molasses in the sauce. Kids ate them cold in schoolyards from Appalachia to the Dust Bowl plains. WPA workers packed bean sandwiches in their coat pockets and ate standing up. Nobody talked about it. Everybody ate it. When prosperity returned after the war, the bean sandwich vanished like a bad dream. Families wanted to forget the taste of making do. The olive and cream cheese sandwich appeared at every church social, bridge club, and funeral reception in America from the 1920s through the 1960s. Women mixed Philadelphia cream cheese with chopped green olives and a dash of Worcestershire sauce, spread it thick on crustless white bread, and cut it into neat triangles. The salt of the olives against the tang of the cream cheese created something oddly addictive. Ladies' Home Journal printed the recipe in 1923, and it became gospel. A block of cream cheese cost 12 cents. A jar of olives ran 25 cents. You could feed 20 guests for under $1. Every woman had her own variation. Some added walnuts. Others used pimento stuffed olives for color. When national sandwich chains introduced standardized menus, the cream cheese and olive sandwich retreated to memory. It did not die. It was abandoned by a country that decided simple was the same as unsophisticated. Number 23. The fried bologna sandwich was blue-collar America on a plate. Mothers scored the edges of a thick slice of Oscar Mayer bologna so it would not curl, fried it in a cast-iron skillet until the edges crisped and the center blistered, then slapped it on white bread with yellow mustard and a slice of American cheese. In 1955, a pound of bologna cost 39 cents. It was the cheapest meat in the case. The sizzle of that bologna hitting the hot pan was the sound of a Tuesday night when payday was still 3 days away. Mill towns in Pennsylvania, factory towns in Ohio, farming communities in Iowa. Everybody knew that sound. Children fought over the crispy edges. Fathers ate 2 sandwiches standing at the counter before sitting down. The smoke from the pan would set off the kitchen fan every time. Fast food taught America that a hamburger was the proper working man's meal. Bologna became a punchline, something you packed when you could not afford better. But anyone who has eaten a properly fried bologna sandwich, the edges caramelized, the bread soft with mustard and grease, knows the truth. It was never lesser. It was honest. Number 22. The sardine sandwich fueled the American waterfront from Maine to San Francisco. Longshoremen and fishermen cracked open flat tins of packed sardines, laid the small silver fish across dark rye bread, and topped them with sliced raw onion and a squeeze of lemon. In the 1940s, a tin of sardines cost 7 cents, making it the cheapest protein in America outside of beans. The oil from the fish soaked into the bread, turning it rich and savory. The smell cleared a room, but the taste kept men working through 12-hour shifts on the docks. By the 1970s, sardines had become a joke, something old men ate. The tuna sandwich replaced it everywhere, blander and more acceptable to a country that had decided fish should not taste like fish. The sardine sandwich did not disappear because it failed. It disappeared because America got embarrassed by its own working-class lunch. Number 21. The Western sandwich, not the omelet, the original sandwich, was the meal that built the railroads. A scramble of eggs, diced ham, onions, and green pepper folded between two slices of toast. Railroad dining cars served them from the 1880s through the 1950s. Harvey House restaurants along the Santa Fe line sold them for 35 cents, and cowboys, engineers, and traveling salesmen ate them at every whistle stop from Kansas City to Albuquerque. The peppers and onions masked the taste of eggs that had traveled too far from the hen house. That was the original genius. By 1960, the Western sandwich appeared on the menu of nearly every diner in the Midwest. Then IHOP opened. Denny's followed. The Western became an omelet on a plate instead of a sandwich in your hand, and the original version, portable and sturdy, eaten while walking to the next train, vanished from the American menu. Peanut butter and bacon sounds like a stunt, but it was a legitimate American sandwich eaten in diners across the South from the 1930s through the 1960s. Crisp bacon laid across a thick layer of peanut butter on toasted white bread. The salt and smoke of the bacon against the sweet richness of the peanut butter created something that tasted far better than it had any right to. Elvis made it famous, but he did not invent it. Diner cooks in Memphis and Nashville had been serving it for decades. A jar of peanut butter cost 20 cents in 1940. Bacon was 35 cents a pound. When nutritionists began counting fat grams in the 1980s, the peanut butter and bacon sandwich became a cautionary tale rather than a lunch order. America did not stop eating bacon. It just stopped putting it where it belonged. Number 19. The pepper and egg sandwich held court during Lent in every Italian-American neighborhood from Boston to Chicago. Mothers fried long green Italian peppers in olive oil until soft scrambled eggs into the peppers right in the same pan and piled the mixture into crushed Italian bread. No meat, no cheese, just peppers, eggs, oil, and bread. In 1958, a dozen eggs cost 53 cents. A pound of Italian peppers was a dime at the neighborhood stand. For 6 Fridays every spring, this sandwich appeared on every table in neighborhoods like Taylor Street in Chicago, Federal Hill in Providence, and Arthur Avenue in the Bronx. The bread soaked up the pepper oil and turned golden and soft. Children came home from school to the smell of frying peppers and knew exactly what day it was. When fast food restaurants introduced the fish sandwich as a Lenten option, the pepper and egg began its long fade from the American calendar. Number 18. Creamed chipped beef on toast. The military called it something unprintable. Soldiers called it breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Dried, salted beef was shredded into a white flour gravy and ladled over toast. The Army served it to millions of men from World War I through Korea. A jar of dried beef cost 15 cents in 1945. Enough flour and milk for the gravy cost another dime. It fed a family of 5 for a quarter. When those soldiers came home, their wives learned to make it because it was the only thing their husbands would eat without complaint. Diners across America put it on the menu as a blue plate special through the 1960s. The gravy was thick, salty, peppery, and deeply savory. Poured over crisp toast, it was the taste of survival and routine. Fast casual dining made creamed chipped beef sound like punishment food. The name alone kept a new generation from trying it. But veterans' halls and VFW posts served it into the 1990s because the men who ate it never forgot the taste. Some things disappear not because they fail, but because the people who loved them are gone. Here is where things take a turn. The loose meat sandwich was once the most popular sandwich in the upper Midwest, and the fast food industry studied it like a blueprint before building something worse. In 1926, a butcher named Fred Angel opened the first Made Right in Muscatine, Iowa. He crumbled seasoned ground beef loose in a pan, no patty, no press, just free-flowing seasoned meat, and scooped it onto a bun. By 1940, there were over 100 Made Right locations across Iowa, Illinois, and Minnesota. The sandwich cost a dime. The meat was fresh, never frozen, seasoned simply with salt, pepper, and a whisper of Worcestershire. You ate it with a spoon to catch what fell. Every small town in Iowa had a loose meat shop. Then McDonald's standardized the hamburger patty in 1955. Ray Kroc turned beef into a uniform product. The loose meat sandwich, with its crumbly imperfection and regional character, could not compete with national advertising budgets. Made Right shrunk from over 100 locations to a handful. The sandwich that inspired fast food was killed by fast food. That should make you angry. Number 16. The Dagwood, named after Dagwood Bumstead from the Blondie comic strip, was America's answer to the question of how tall a sandwich could get, stacked with cold cuts, cheese, lettuce, tomato, pickles, and anything else in the refrigerator. The Dagwood was the Sunday night sandwich of the 1940s and the 1950s. Fathers built them like architecture projects, while mothers shook their heads. The comic strip debuted in 1930, and by 1945, the Dagwood was a cultural institution. It represented abundance after years of rationing. Every slice of ham, every layer of Swiss cheese was a declaration that the lean times were over. The sandwich had no recipe. It had ambition. Deli counters built Dagwood specials through the 1960s. Then the submarine sandwich chains arrived. Subway in 1965, Blimpie in 1964, and they took the tall sandwich concept, standardized it, stripped it of personality, and sold it back to America for $5. The Dagwood was personal. The sub was product. Liverwurst on rye bread with raw onion and brown mustard was the construction worker's sandwich from New York to Milwaukee. German and Eastern European immigrants brought liverwurst to America in the 1880s, and by the 1920s, it was a deli staple in every city with a sizable immigrant population. The smooth, spreadable liver sausage was piled on dense pumpernickel or rye, while raw onion cut through the richness like a blade. In 1950, liverwurst cost 28 cents a pound, cheaper than any other deli meat. The sandwich cost a dime to make it home. Steelworkers in Pittsburgh, meat packers in Chicago, and garment workers in Manhattan carried liverwurst on rye in brown paper bags. The smell announced itself at lunchtime. As America's palate shifted toward blander, more uniform flavors, liverwurst retreated to ethnic delis and the memories of first-generation Americans. The Oscar Mayer liverwurst that survived on supermarket shelves was a ghost of the original. But even that is increasingly hard to find. Number 14. The Hot Brown was born in 1926 at the Brown Hotel in Louisville, Kentucky, and for 40 years it was the finest open-faced sandwich in America. Sliced turkey breast laid on toast, smothered in a rich Mornay cheese sauce, topped with bacon and tomato, then broiled until the sauce bubbled golden. The hotel chef created it as a late-night supper for guests after the dinner dance. By the 1950s, restaurants across Kentucky served their own versions. The Hot Brown demanded fresh carved turkey and a proper roux-based sauce. You could not fake it. When fast food introduced the processed turkey sandwich in the 1970s, pressed deli turkey on white bread with a packet of mayo. The Hot Brown looked like too much work. Restaurants dropped it. Home cooks never learned it. Outside Louisville, the Hot Brown is a name most Americans have never heard. Number 13. The tongue sandwich sat in every Jewish deli case in America for the better part of a century. Beef tongue, brined and slow simmered for hours, then sliced thin and piled high on rye bread with spicy brown mustard. The meat was impossibly tender, rich, and beefy in a way no other cut could match. In 1952, Katz's Delicatessen in Manhattan sold tongue sandwiches alongside pastrami and corned beef for 40 cents. The texture was silky, the flavor deep, and the mustard lit it up like a match. Then something shifted. The word tongue became the problem. A generation raised on chicken nuggets and fish sticks could not stomach the idea of eating an organ they could name. Delis stopped carrying it because younger customers would not order it. An entire tradition is dying, not because the sandwich failed, but because America lost its nerve. Number 12. The horseshoe sandwich has been the pride of Springfield, Illinois, since 1928. It starts with 2 thick slices of toasted bread, topped with a choice of meat, covered in a blanket of rich Welsh rarebit cheese sauce, and buried under a mountain of French fries. Joe Schweska at the Leland Hotel invented it, and Springfield claimed it as a civic treasure. By the 1940s, every restaurant in town served some version. The cheese sauce recipe varied from kitchen to kitchen, and arguments over whose was best could end friendships. The horseshoe was a monument to Midwestern excess, a knife and fork sandwich that weighed over a pound and delivered enough calories to fuel a day of farming. Yet outside central Illinois, almost nobody knows it exists. National chains had no interest in a sandwich that could not be standardized or shipped. The horseshoe stayed local, which saved its soul but sealed its obscurity. Deviled ham on white bread was the sandwich that filled 1 million lunch pails in America between 1868 and 1970. Underwood deviled ham, the oldest trademarked food product in the United States, came in small red cans with that little devil on the label. Mothers spread the spicy, finely ground ham paste on soft white bread, sometimes adding a leaf of iceberg lettuce or a smear of yellow mustard. The taste was salty, peppery, and unmistakably American. A can cost 9 cents in 1945. In the lunch pails of railroad workers, in the school bags of Midwest children, in the picnic baskets at county fairs, deviled ham was everywhere. Then Oscar Mayer introduced prepackaged Lunchables in 1988. Suddenly, children wanted crackers and processed cheese arranged in plastic trays, not spreadable ham from a can their grandmother used. The deviled ham sandwich did not just fade. It was replaced by a marketing campaign aimed at children who had never been allowed to make their own lunch. The St. Paul sandwich is the strangest entry on this list, and maybe the most American. It is a patty of egg foo young, fried crisp, and served on white bread with lettuce, tomato, pickle, and mayonnaise. It was invented in the Chinese-American restaurants of St. Louis sometime in the 1930s, and for decades it was the cheap lunch of the city's working class. It cost 25 cents. It appeared on menus alongside chop suey and fried rice, a collision of Chinese cooking technique and American sandwich culture that existed nowhere else on Earth. Nobody is quite sure who invented it or why it was called the St. Paul. The egg foo young patty was crispy on the outside, soft inside, and the mayo and pickle turned it into something that tasted like it had always belonged between 2 slices of bread. As Chinese-American restaurants modernized and menus shifted toward General Tso's and sesame chicken, the St. Paul sandwich disappeared from most menus. It survives in a handful of St. Louis restaurants, an edible artifact of a time when immigrant cooks invented American food, one lunch counter at a time. Number 9. The chow mein sandwich belongs to Fall River, Massachusetts, and nowhere else. Thick chicken chow mein is ladled onto a hamburger bun, no utensils needed. Chinese-American restaurants in Fall River have served it since the 1920s, and for generations it was the default lunch order for mill workers. The gravy soaked into the bun, the celery and onions gave it crunch, and the noodles tangled with the soft bread in a way that should not have worked, but absolutely did. It cost 30 cents, and it came with crunchy noodles on the side. As the textile mills closed, the chow mein sandwich retreated to a handful of holdout restaurants. It remains one of the most genuinely local foods in America, born from the collision of immigrant labor and Yankee thrift, and it is disappearing because the world that created it no longer exists. The cheese dream was the original American grilled cheese, and it was better than what we eat now. An open-faced slice of bread topped with American cheese, broiled until the cheese bubbled, blistered, and turned golden brown on top. Diners served cheese dreams from the 1920s through the 1950s for a nickel. The broiling created a texture that pan-frying cannot duplicate. The top was crisp and almost caramelized, while the bread underneath stayed soft. Food scientists have confirmed that the direct radiant heat of a broiler creates Maillard reactions across the entire cheese surface simultaneously, something a flat griddle cannot achieve. The closed-face grilled cheese sandwich replaced the cheese dream by the 1960s because it was faster to make on a flat-top grill. Speed killed the better sandwich. That is a sentence that explains half of American food history. Number 7. The pimento cheese sandwich was the Masters Tournament, Sunday church, and front porch summer rolled into one. Sharp cheddar, roasted red pimentos, and mayonnaise mixed by hand and spread on soft white bread. In the 1940s, pimento cheese was the most popular sandwich spread in the American South. Every woman had her recipe. Some added cayenne, others folded in cream cheese for smoothness. A pound of sharp cheddar cost 40 cents. A jar of pimentos cost a dime. The spread kept for a week in the icebox. When national sandwich chains introduced standardized menus with no regional variation, the pimento cheese sandwich retreated to church basements and family reunions. The version your grandmother made, with hand-grated cheese and Duke's mayonnaise, is being replaced by mass-produced tubs that taste like nothing she would recognize. Number 6. The fried brain sandwich was St. Louis at its most fearless. Thinly sliced calf brains, battered and deep-fried until golden, served on a hamburger bun with pickles, onion, and mustard. From the 1880s through the 1980s, taverns across South St. Louis served brain sandwiches as a bar snack and working lunch. The brains were creamy inside the crispy coating, mild in flavor, and shockingly rich. A brain sandwich cost 50 cents in 1960. Then mad cow disease hit the news in the 1990s. The USDA restricted the sale of cattle brains over 30 months old. Supply dried up. Fear finished what regulations started. A few holdout taverns in southern Indiana still serve them using pork brains, but the original St. Louis calf brain sandwich is gone. An entire culinary tradition erased by a disease that never actually affected a single American diner. Number 5. The fluffernutter was New England childhood between two slices of bread. Peanut butter and marshmallow fluff on white bread. No toasting, no frying, just sweet and salty and impossibly sticky. Durkee Mower introduced marshmallow fluff in 1920 in Somerville, Massachusetts, and within a decade the fluffernutter became the default school lunch across New England. In 2006, a Massachusetts legislator actually tried to ban fluffernutters from school cafeterias for being too unhealthy. The backlash was fierce, but health-conscious parents had been replacing fluff with organic alternatives for years, and the fluffernutter slowly faded from lunchboxes. The sandwich still exists, but the era when every child in Boston, Hartford, and Providence ate one 3 times a week is over. Number 4. The meatloaf sandwich was Monday in America. Cold slices of Sunday's meatloaf between 2 slices of white bread with ketchup. That was lunch. That was supper. That was the answer to the question of what to do with leftovers in a country that once understood you did not throw food away. The meatloaf itself was already an exercise in thrift. Ground beef stretched with breadcrumbs and egg, seasoned with onion and Worcestershire. Sliced cold the next day, it held together perfectly on bread, the ketchup glaze adding sweetness that cut the dense beef. Fathers carried meatloaf sandwiches to work through the 1940s, 1950s, and 1960s. Children found them in lunch bags beside an apple and a napkin. When fast food made hot burgers available for under $1, the cold meatloaf sandwich became a relic. Why eat yesterday's dinner when you could eat today's for 99 cents? That question changed American lunch forever, and not for the better. Number 3. The egg salad sandwich was the backbone of every drugstore lunch counter, bus station cafe, and hospital cafeteria in America for 60 years. Hard-boiled eggs mashed with mayonnaise, a pinch of salt, a grind of pepper, sometimes a whisper of celery, spread thick on soft white bread. In 1948, you could buy an egg salad sandwich at any Woolworth's lunch counter in America for 15 cents. The eggs were boiled that morning. The mayonnaise was Hellman's east of the Rockies, Best Foods to the west. The bread was fresh. That simplicity was the whole point. Food scientists at Cornell University found that the specific protein structure of a freshly hard-boiled egg interacts with the emulsion of real mayonnaise in a way that creates a texture mass-produced versions cannot replicate. When the lunch counters closed, when Woolworth shuttered in 1997, the egg salad sandwich lost its natural home. The pre-made versions in plastic triangles at gas stations are an insult to what this sandwich once was. Number 2. The chopped liver sandwich carried the soul of Jewish American cooking from the Lower East Side to every deli in the country. Chicken livers sautéed with onions and schmaltz, chopped fine with a hand chopper, seasoned with salt and pepper, and spread thick on rye bread. The taste was rich, earthy, mineral, and deeply savory. Every Jewish grandmother made chopped liver differently, and every grandchild swore theirs was best. In 1955, delis from Cantor's in Los Angeles to the Carnegie in New York sold chopped liver sandwiches alongside pastrami and brisket for 45 cents. As the great delis closed one by one, as schmaltz was replaced by vegetable oil, and as a new generation decided liver was something to avoid, the chopped liver sandwich retreated to holiday tables and memory. The daily chopped liver sandwich, the one eaten standing at the counter with a pickle in the other hand, is gone. And number 1, the church supper ham salad sandwich is the most American sandwich that ever existed, and it is almost gone. Women ground leftover Easter ham through a hand-cranked meat grinder, mixed it with sweet pickle relish, mayonnaise, and a teaspoon of yellow mustard, and spread it on soft white bread cut into triangles. This sandwich appeared at every church potluck, funeral reception, and wedding shower in America for over 100 years. It was made by women whose names never appeared in cookbooks. It cost almost nothing. It fed everyone. The recipe was never written down because every woman in the church already knew it by heart. The hand grinder clamped to the kitchen counter. The smell of smoked ham pressed through the metal plate. The pink paste mixed in a big bowl with a wooden spoon. When the last generation of women who owned hand-cranked meat grinders passes, the ham salad sandwich will go with them. Food processors make a different texture. Store-bought ham salad tastes like nothing. The ham salad sandwich was not just food. It was community, generosity, and the quiet labor of women who fed this country without recognition. It built more of America than any burger chain ever did. Try one, just one. Fry a thick slice of bologna until it blisters. Spread deviled ham on a white bread, the way your grandmother did. Mash yesterday's meatloaf between 2 slices with ketchup and eat it cold. Then tell me the drive-thru serves anything better. These sandwiches built this country. The least we can do is remember their names